You're echoing again.
Am I?
Yeah, Anise was, yes.
Oh,
But
echoing.
Yeah.
Are you hearing
Anyway.
me through? Okay.
Whatever. It's not important.
It's not important.
Might be.
This. Hello, John. This is Literary Roadhouse. One short story once a week. I'm Gerald.
I'm Andy.
And I'm Anise.
This week we've been reading a short story by Lauren Groff. If you haven't read the story yet, pause the podcast, go read the story because I think you'll enjoy it. But don't forget to come back and see if we liked it too. Stop sniggering. We read Fates and Furies on the Book Club podcast some years ago, so I was looking forward to reading this 6,000 odd word story. It opens with Buddy being shuffled out of his aunt's house. From her interactions with him, we get the idea he's murally diverse, as we say these days. He's waiting for someone the aunt doesn't approve of, which turns out to be his sister. Their mother had died, and despite only being 17 herself, his sister Joni had decided to get Buddy a place at Sunland, or what used to be called Florida Farm Colony for Epileptic and Mentally Deficient Children. That's a great title. She herself is heading to Maine to go to college. The story tells their journey from the creepy pickup driver who Jamie blackmails to get some money to the soppy drugstore worker who wants a date with her. She doesn't tell him she's leaving, but she manages to get a free meal from him. On the bus, they met Ada Severin, who's blessed with the power of perception and who steals $100 from a pocketbook when she falls asleep. Eventually, they arrive at Sunland, and Joni leaves him in the care of 3 stout women in white, feeling guilty, but she doesn't look back as she walks away. Yeah.
Okay.
That's about it.
Yeah. I like when you're summarizing, right? You have to put things next to each other. So putting someone who's like gifted with perception with stealing money at the same time, very perceptive. There'd be money in that purse.
Yes, that's very good.
Okay.
Yeah, and she said God blessed her with the power of perception, but then that's not very godlike to steal money. That's not very good.
Yeah, she also wasn't very perceptive.
No. Well,
she was kind of just writing, just making up stories about people she saw, you know,
Yeah.
which is a different kind of talent.
Yeah. They call it cold reading, don't they? These magicians.
Yeah, but she was going beyond cold reading. She was like,
Yeah.
this man. Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's his old job. Here's his current job. He used to be a turpentine cutter. All
right. Turpentine cutter. I don't know what that means either.
You cut turpentine.
Okay. Oh, if only I'd have been able to work that out.
So, Andy, what did you think of the story overall?
I could see in your heart that you were going to ask me that question.
We do it every week.
I don't know. It was fine. I don't know. We've had like a string of well-written stories that are good, I guess.
Why is that so disappointing to you?
I don't know. They're fine. Well, if it was awful, I could have a rip-roaring time tearing into it. If it was excellent, then I'd like sing all about it. And if it was weird, that would be interesting too. This is just a nice story about some shitty lives and people managing them, but not too shitty. Just like
kind of shitty.
I mean, kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Gerald, what did you think of the story?
I loved it. I sank into this story. I swam around in it. I paddled in it. I lay on my back and kicked my feet. It's a lovely story. It's really, I mean, it's not a lovely story. It's a very, very well written story. I liked it a lot. I think she's got the time and the place absolutely spot on. She's very clever with how she writes. And I just raced straight through it both times. A really good story. I love what she did. I love what she did with the characters. adding a couple, a few sort of interesting. It's not just a road, like a sort of journey story. It's not so much of that. It's the people that they meet. So I think she's got great characters. So really enjoyed it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably a little between you guys.
Well, I'd say like the characters are super neat, and we don't spend too much time with any one of these like weirdos they bump into on their travels, but we feel so much about them real quickly. It was, super well done.
And that's the skill of her as a writer to be able to very quickly give you an extremely clear view of the characters.
Right. And the aunt feels different from the truck driver, who feels different from the kid in the hamburger shop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's very clever to do that. So few words.
And you're getting it through the point of view of Buddy, who, isn't necessarily the most observant point of view character. There's a lot of things he's missing, and yet we as the reader aren't, and that's very clever.
Right. Like that he misses them in a kind of pointed way somehow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in some ways, Buddy is observant, but not meditative. I guess that's the term. Like he's always looking at like nature, the smells, the colors, animals, what animals he does know, the one he doesn't, which I think was an armadillo. Right. And then, but he doesn't seem to be able to grasp the minds of other people, right? Just very superficial, like, oh, this woman taking money from my sister's purse is probably bad, but he's very easily thwarted from that. Which is
sandwich.
Yeah, just give him a sandwich.
Yeah.
But he is always observing things in a different way, and I think that's smart, right? Because it's not like he only notices the lecher's hand on his sister's lap when it's convenient for the story. We have seen him observing things from the moment he saw the termites coming in and out of a beam of light on the porch, right? So he's observing everything all the time. And then through that, you start to go, oh, he missed that. We didn't.
And he doesn't draw conclusions from what he sees, or doesn't develop them into anything more than a visual image that he has seen. And the author notes that and moves on. Yeah.
And it isn't like a lack of capacity to feel either, because he feels throughout this whole thing. He misses his mother. He's very easily confused. Like he doesn't understand his mother's dead, which is heartbreaking. It's rough.
Yeah.
I really thought that was smart. Like I think most authors would have made the choice to make the point of view character Joni, because it feels like there's more meat there, right? She's the one who's clearly feeling a bit guilty about leaving. Like she feels like she has no choice, and she's probably right, honestly. But she does feel guilty about it. And she has a lot of opinions and things to say about this town. And she has a lot of ambition. So it seems like that's the one with the deeper internal world. And that's the better point of view character. But I think the choice was right. And it changes the mood and tone of the story. It is very smart.
Yeah.
Because everything about Joni, would we have gotten more from her point of view necessarily? We get so much of it already from Buddy.
I don't think so. And I think that it would have been a more mundane story had it been from Joni's perspective, I think, point of view. I think the fact that we are with, and it's not sort of first person, because that'd be really difficult to do. I don't think she could have done that, but to have this sort of close third person really worked well for this, because we can see everything that's going on and drawing our own conclusions, even if Buddy, as you said, Buddy misses things, but we don't, so we see what's happening and he's not aware of it. So it's it's I thought it was really cleverly done for that, and it's lots of really great, the whole construction was good, the whole sort of start here with that sort of conflict between his aunt and his sister, which gets you interested because you don't know it's sister initially, and so that's sort of quite interesting. You think, oh, what's going on here, and then develops through the people that they meet on the journey, which is great, which is exactly what a sort of road trip movie should be. So yeah,
Mhm.
like it.
Also, there's that moment where Joni's laughing at the little prank she pulled on the guy who works at the burgers and milkshake place. Like, call my aunt. She's gonna tell you I don't live there because she doesn't want me seeing boys, but just keep trying. And she starts laughing at her joke. And then there's that line where it's like Buddy laughed too, not because he understood, but because she was laughing and that made him happy. And it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
You
know,
missed
and
that at any other point of view, right?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and it didn't actually where's that? It was before the bus, isn't it? But I thought, yeah, that was the leg. Just bear with me a second. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah. Sorry, I just forget. I forget what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was trying to.
Excellent point.
I was going to quote something, but I can't find it, and everyone's just sitting around waiting for me to find it. So that's not good podcasting, is it?
But I edited it out later.
Right. Yeah.
Oh,
we take out the big pause.
Oh, okay.
It seems like you just found it instantly.
Yeah.
It won't anymore because we're gonna edit in all this dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So I still can't find it anyway. We'll move on from that.
Okay. So Gerald earlier was saying that the place and location was spot on. I thought that was very clever too. The way that she just threaded in a sense of place and time, but not just time, also a very like this sort of backwater hometown feeling, like this small town. I thought it was very clever, very deft. You very quickly get the sense, even just from the small thing of like she sees a pickup truck, she immediately knows who it is. That already tells you so much about a place. I thought it was really good. I like that a lot. And there's the way people talk, like the guy, all the little like. Does the guy at the burger place call himself a pumpkin head? I think he does.
Yes.
Amazing. Amazing.
And the fact that he does that shows us a lot about his character. That he's embarrassed because he didn't realize that their mom had died, and he's just so desperate to be nice to her, so she goes on a date with him.
And it's good to have that contrast with the lecher in the truck, because if not, it's like, yeah, girl, get out of that town. There's nothing there for you. But with that guy, it makes her ambition more than just escaping a bad situation. There's some pleasant stuff there too, but she wants more than what this town can offer, including burger shop guy. That's why she wants to go to the women's college in Maine.
Yeah.
Because if all you see are creepy, is he a high school teacher? Because I think he's a high school teacher.
It seemed like.
That's all you have, run.
And the thing, like she said, something else I was looking for. She took his suitcase. This is early on. She took his suitcase in one hand and hers in the other, and led him down the path to the soft, thick dirt of the road. She didn't say the road is a dirt road. It was just mentioned in passing, so it gives you that little image.
Yeah,
very good. Yeah.
It really definitely is a writer's story, which is why I was saying earlier, I think I'm between you guys, where like, I think I enjoyed it more than Andy says, but I do understand what he's saying, where it does feel a bit like, it doesn't really take you on a really big emotional roller coaster. It doesn't really, there's no twist. Everything from beginning to end is as you expected, right? Like you very quickly figure out he's mentally deficient in some way, neurodivergent in some way, something's going on. And then someone goes, so you're taking him up to that place.
Right.
Yep, that's exactly what's happening. So I think that's why it doesn't have that like thrill sometimes you look for as a reader.
It's like the skills well done. Just a bunch of polished skills set up in a row.
But I'm still glad I read it because I like the analysis part of it. Like I think that's fun. Like figuring out, how did she do this? How did she get me to feel this thing here or to see a particular, she doesn't spend a lot of time with descriptions, and yet I'm seeing a lot of things from the subtle way she's putting things in certain sentences without dwelling on them. It's very cool.
Yeah, she doesn't stop the story to describe things. She describes things in the telling of the story, which is it's a great technique.
Yeah.
Especially in short fiction.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you read the interview with her afterwards. That's quite good. And she said, and they asked, is this going to be part of a novel? She said, nope. It's a short story, and that's what it is.
I think she's right. I mean, the only way it's part of a novel is if you have a twist in mind. If not, everything is going to pan out as we expect, which we can talk about. Do you think Aunt Maisie is going to go up to visit him every month? Do you think Joni's going to get him out of there after she graduates from college? Or are things going to pan out as we expected? Therefore, that's why you don't need a novel.
Right.
Yes, I suppose that's. I mean, she talks about that idea that people who are not generally short story readers can get disappointed because you want to know more about the characters, and it's cut off and stopped. But I quite like the fact that it does what it's meant to do and doesn't do any more. And I don't know. I just wonder if it's going to be a sort of Rain Man type of thing where she does come back after she's been to college, and they do they do sort of live together, and maybe, I don't know. That's a Gerald happy ending.
Yeah, I don't think she ever. Maybe not ever. I think if she ever gets him out of there, it's going to take a long time.
Right.
Yeah.
She might move back to Florida to be closer, but I don't think. There's always going to be a reason why that's not the best decision. And she's coming from such a low place that it's really hard to imagine her getting to a place where she can confidently feel like she can provide for this person who needs a lot of care in her own home. She might move closer. That might happen. But
and she'll feel bad about it.
Oh, yeah. She'll feel very bad. Mm-hmm.
And she's quite wily, isn't she? She knows how to get money out of people. So she's got, and so that's another thing about her character. She's only 17, but she's got the smarts, hasn't she? She's worldly wise.
Yeah, and Aunt Maisie does not make it up there every aunt. She already has her excuses laid out.
Yeah,
she might go once a year around the anniversary of her sister's death, out of guilt. Maybe twice a year. Maybe the holidays is another guilty period.
Maybe. Yeah. It's kind of, I sometimes wonder in that situation whether it's better that she does that, or if it's better for Buddy that she stays away and he builds his sort of new life up there at Sunland.
Right. Whatever his new routine is going to be.
Yeah, because if she goes, she goes to see him twice a year, it's going to upset his routine and his. Don't know if he's going to enjoy it or not.
Yeah. And also, Maisie is very critical of Joni, but if Joni did not exist and the choice was Maisie's, she was going to make the same choice.
Right.
I think
she is also not in a position to do this. It's very easy to criticize when you don't got to make the choice.
Yes. When you don't got to make the choice.
Yeah. Which, yeah. There was a lot of like self-righteousness in the story as well that felt, maybe this is wrong with me, but like a little distinctly Southern in some ways, right? Like, yeah. Which I think Joni also says, like, the Yankees, they keep to themselves as it should be, right? Like, they don't get all up in your business. Because this woman on the bus, she even says, I sat here to meddle. I chose this seat to meddle in your lives.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and I don't like people invoking God and when they're not nice people like that. God gave me this. It's a God-given talent. Pshaw. Yeah. Whatever.
Yeah. So one of the things that I had coming into this discussion that I was nervous about was that we wouldn't have too much to discuss, because in some ways it very much is what it is. And like the real discussion is just how did she pull off the things that we've been talking about? But the story itself, like there's subtext, but it's not like a twist. It's just what are all the layers Buddy isn't seeing that we can see. That's like most of it. So I don't know what else to say, basically.
Yeah. And how do you write those layers without the point of view character seeing them?
Mm-hmm.
It's very clever, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit like the Toy Story movie where you've got jokes for the kids and jokes for the grown-ups as well, and the kids don't have no idea what the grown-ups jokes are, and it's kind of that sort of thing, having the both levels.
You know what it's like? I don't know how much you two are a fan of Penn and Teller's Magical Mystery Tour.
Mm.
But Penn and Teller in the final episode went to Cairo and were talking to some street magicians. And the guy does the cup and balls trick, which is like the oldest magic trick in the world. The cup and balls, right? Bloop, bloop, bloop. And so the guy does the little thing, bloop, 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 and says, where's the ball? And Teller goes like he's going to play along, right? It's like, you want me to say it's under this one, so I'll say it's under that one. And he opened up and the ball was under that one. And then afterwards, Teller realized he had faked every palm because he knew he was doing a trick for a magician.
Oh, really?
So the ball was actually under the cup. It looked like the ball was going to be under. But behind the scenes, he had secretly made it look like he had pretended to switch the ball in like 7 other ways.
Wow.
And that's, I don't know, I feel like that's what this story is like. Everything does the thing it said it was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
But
Very
I chose the rockiest, most backwards road to get there. Right? Like, right, we did this all from Buddy's point of view. We described all of these different characters sideways or through surface observation only, and still in such a way that gave us insight into their depths. Yeah.
Super clever.
I guess that's good.
I think it's super hard. It's quite a skill.
Yeah, and to a certain extent, we can admire and appreciate the skills of a writer. It's sort of not why we're here particularly. So we don't want Andy improving his score because the writer's got skills.
Well, maybe it is, right? We're all a little bit different. I don't know how to put this. If I was reading these just for pure entertainment value, then it might be a lower score. But I actually care about learning the craft and things like that. So all of a sudden it gets higher because I get a lot of value out of it. And it's the kind of thing where I'll remember. And if I'm trying to do this in something, I might come back and read it and then parse it more closely. So I like that, which is why I feel like it's like Andy was saying, magic for magicians, writing for writers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
But purely as a reader, it's like, okay. Yeah. Everything happened as expected.
Because as we've talked about this story, I have grown to feel differently about this story than I did some of our recent ones where I had very similar complaints where I was like, it's fine, it was well written, I guess, meh.
Mm-hmm.
So there's something extra there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I guess. Yeah. I don't know. I think part of me thinks that the first thing you read, well, no, because we don't do it because the first pass through the story is generally just gives you an impression. It doesn't give you a feel for the story, so it needs a second read. So it's probably a bit like that. We need a discussion, and with a discussion or with a second or third read, then more about the story comes to fruition, and you appreciate it more.
Mm-hmm. Did either of you listen to the audio recording?
No.
I ended up listening it while I was sort of getting ready this morning. So I had already read it a couple times, and I was like, let me see how she inflects things and things like that. It was nice to also get to listen to it as I went about my morning routine. I like that the New Yorker does that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so are we ready to rate?
I think so. 5.5.
Okay. 5.
I've come up to a 4.
Oh,
I am between you guys, like I said.
yeah. Very good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it's you're right. It's not the oh wow kind of story that shocks you or really digs deep into you and pulls your stomach out. And it's a great story, well written, and enjoyable for that. But for me, it didn't quite make that sort of 6er.
Yeah. And even without a twist, even just a story that has like some point to make.
Mm.
And then sometimes I wonder about something like this because sometimes with these kinds of stories, she's hitting on a lot of things that feel very true, things that feel very accurate about a sister, an aunt, a family that has this big responsibility, doesn't really have the means to take care of it. There's no government helping you. And you need to figure out what comes next. And you have this small town and these particular characters exist. And I feel like if that's the kind of story that I would have read much younger, it might have blown my mind more because it's the first time I'm seeing someone draw it really well. And I think the more and more you read and you see these kinds of like drawings already, even if this one is particularly good, it doesn't have the same impact as that first one where you were like, that's the thing. And I feel like that I've noticed that as I read more and more, it's like I want like a deeper, not deeper is not the right word, but I want like a sharper point now. Like now say something with this thing. Or I want to see a completely different drawing, I guess. So I feel like I've seen this drawing. This one's very good. I like this drawing. I want to look at this drawing, but it's not.
Yeah.
You know.
And sometimes I was watching a program on television last night about the Royal Academy of Art, and they had this big exhibition, and anyone can submit anything to the process, and they go through and they look at all the art submitted, and there were so very few beautiful landscape paintings which you can look at and you think, wow, that's really great, that's fantastic, look at the light there, and even portraiture as well. Look at the shadows and light, it's great. But some of it, and one guy had made this big, like 6 foot by 4 foot display of bits of dolls and little heads and legs, and it was full, and it said, "I used to love you" on top, and you just think, wow, that's the punch to the gut that you sometimes think that's art. That's what art should be like. And I think stories are like that too, especially short fiction. You're looking for that sort of little extra jab of something.
Yeah. Okay. So Andy, what are we reading next week?
Next week we are reading Tanya by Bowie Rowan.
Okay. But before you go, visit our Facebook discussion group, the Literary Roadhouse Readers, and tell us what you can glean about us through your God-given power of perception. And some self-righteous lady on a bus stole our last $100 bill. Help us cover our podcast expenses at patreon.com/Literary Roadhouse. Every bit helps. And as always, share this podcast with the milkshake boy incessantly calling your aunt's house. Until next time, read a good story.